WIDR Kalamazoo.
This is Live, Loud, and Local, taking listeners inside the best live shows in Kalamazoo and beyond. This is 89.1 WIDR FM. You can listen live on widrfm.org. Hello, everybody. My name's Karen. I'm a chronic concert goer and the host of Live, Loud, and Local. I hope midterms are treating you well this week. Make sure to take care of yourself, take breaks, and remember that this education is a privilege. But beyond that, I want to introduce our guests for this week. So this week I have Fake Baseball here with us. I have Adam.
Hello.
And I have Maggie.
Hello.
Adam and Maggie are from Fake Baseball and are here in the flesh with me in the studio today. They have their EP, The Goods, being released on October 23rd, and a string of shows to follow in Chicago, Kalamazoo, and Toledo. Welcome, you guys. How are you doing?
Doing
Awesome.
very well. I'm very happy not to be doing midterms right now, personally. So Godspeed to all of you out there in cram mode right now.
And thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're
Of
pumped.
course. WIDR connected me with you guys, and I was very excited to have you guys on the show. You seem to be kind of names around here and have been involved in WIDR before.
For sure. Well, we've done, this isn't our first interview on WIDR as a group, but I think everybody in the band has been interacting with this station off and on for a number of years. I mean, I've been in town doing in studios and listening to WIDR since, 2006, something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, Kalamazoo staple for sure. I think it's, as far as college radios goes,
Oh, man.
very listened to by the general non-college populace in town.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I love
So tell me about Fake Baseball. How did the band kind of become to be?
Fake Baseball sort of started as a school project of mine. I was in the MAT program, which stands for Multimedia Arts and Technology here at Western. And for my capstone project, I wanted to make a big sort of big band studio album. And it also happened to be when the pandemic hit. So the eventuality of the dream didn't totally come to fruition, but the seedling of Fake Baseball started, and we put out a series of demos for my capstone project. And then later, when things were a little bit easier to get together and get into the studio to do some recording, as far as being safe with COVID and stuff like that goes. We actually made the full-length album, so we kind of made the album twice, or largely a big part of it twice. And then after the album was made, we worked up a live band together and have been playing and touring together ever since.
Yeah, it was probably middle or early 2019. Maggie approached both me and Jared Sellner, our sax player, about working up a bunch of material for this album that was going to be largely just a school project. Well, just a school project. A pretty big deal
Yeah,
school
it's sort
project.
of an ambitious project.
And we got together a few times and threw some chords around and a couple of motifs and just enough to get excited about it, but only met a few times over the course of 2019. And then around March of 2020, something happened that made it suddenly we all had a lot of time on our hands. So when we were able to find spaces where we could maintain a little bit of social distancing and continue to work on the material and even, like Maggie said, like demo out essentially the entire album, do a dry run of making the whole record before going into the studio to make the album proper, which I think was a really unique and interesting way to both write and record. And yeah, especially funny because like even dead of winter 2020, 2021, we're hanging out on porches with little laptops and Casio keyboards, trying to work out all this stuff, and even doing more than a little of the first draft of the album was recorded on porches.
Nice.
Just so that we could stay outside and not cough on each other.
Yeah, and on a slew of DAWs and a billion file transfers and whatever, we really were just trying to I'm immunocompromised, so especially during the beginning when no one knew anything about anything, we were trying to be creative but be really safe. And so
for the layman, a DAW stands for Digital
Audio Workstation. Very good. Nerd moments. So we've kind of taken on some different writing processes since then, but and thank God, I don't ever really want to make an album twice ever again because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, that was a lot.
But as far as the context of the world goes, it actually helped us out. I think that the world shutting down is the only way that Fake Baseball sort of started.
Yeah, with all of our other projects that we each individually had going on, it was hard to make happen early on, which is why like I said, we got together a few times over the course of all of 2019, but in the course of 7 months within the middle of the pandemic, we had demoed out this entire record and was like ready to go into the studio about it. And then, like Maggie said, after the record was written and recorded with just the two of us and Jared Selner, who I mentioned earlier, and Grayson Nye, who's our keyboard player. As the core group, we recorded pretty much everything except for the some
horns,
horns and miscellaneous solos and bits that we farmed out to a lot of our friends and other collaborators, are really around the whole state, but mostly in Kalamazoo. But once we, after the fact, then found a rhythm section in Ethan Bausma, who is a jazz performance, I want to say, major from here at the Jazz School in Western, as our drummer, and Matt Milo, who we know from multiple projects and just being around town, and he also was already in a band with Jared, sax player. So once that group got solidified, it became clear, like, all right, this is going to be our,
This is the band,
This is the
man.
band, yeah. Moving forward, Maggie and I are, I guess, taking the reins as far as like musical directors for it, but we now have like a crew that is the band officially for the time
Nice.
being, yeah.
So you have all these other musicians, but what do you guys do? What is your part in the musical process?
Moving forward, we seem to be, as Adam just said, sort of musical directors, or whatever that means, I guess. We sort of have been working up new material, and we'll get together about new songs and demo stuff out, just the two of us, to a degree that something is, 70 to 80% done. Not as far as like a finished thing, but like kernels of ideas of a song.
Yes.
But leaving it open enough for no one to be completely precious about anything, and also enough space for when we present it to the band, people to be able to put their fingerprints on stuff and feel ownership of things, and then also, get their opinions raised if they don't like something before something becomes precious to someone else.
Yeah, there becomes a threshold of time when you're working on one song where some element that might not actually be all that important becomes very, very important to you as the writer. So being when you're working in a band, being really conscious about not doing too much of the work before you present it to the people who are actually going to have to play it and are arranging it with you. It's important to keep that space available for them, not just to be fair to other people who are
putting their names on something,
but because like part of the reason that this crew is the crew that we're sticking with is because we believe in their sensibilities and we want their opinions on these things. So we've had a long-standing joke regarding Grayson, our keyboard player, who are like, every once in a while, like there'll be a tune that one of us or the two of us or somebody else will have written whole cloth, but we still consider Grayson a songwriter on it, because we'll get to a section. It's like, all right, what happens next? I don't know. Grayson plays something cool.
And then Grayson plays something cool.
And then when it's time, Grayson plays something cool. It's like, that counts as you writing it to me.
Or,
man.
Even Ethan, who's our drummer, the person who never plays a melodic note in anything, in any concert or whatever, will reharmonize a section or suggest chord progression, things, and is a very very wonderful musical thinker. And so, yeah, we desire everybody's input at a stage pretty early on, but we don't expect 5 to 6 brains to
write a song
every single song
Yeah.
all of the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, even though you can get some cool things out of that, it can just be the longest possible way to write a song.
Right.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, all these like budding ideas already in the process and like no groundwork done, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden like everyone has all these ideas that don't necessarily all fit together.
Right, it's
and-
almost worse when everybody has good ideas because
Yeah, because then you don't know how to honor
yeah,
everything.
which
Yeah.
one do you go with? And, but so that's been a big part of the process leading up to now, which we're refining still.
Okay. So you've told me a bit about like you're 80% of the way done and then you bring it to the other members of the band. Tell me like this beginning, like from 0% to 80%. How does that kind of go?
It can go a number of ways.
We definitely
definitely-
have some interesting, I think,
Yeah.
ways of going about that in certain.
I'd
certain
say
cases.
just sort of broad strokes, and then maybe we can talk about opposition a little bit. But broad strokes, either somebody has an idea and develops the idea and brings it to the other person, and we talk about it and kind of get to the root of what we want to say and then continue to work on it. Or so we've been getting into these writing prompt things lately, which is also fun. Like we have a single that we just recorded in the summer, and we're going to come out with it at the beginning of next year. And that just started. Adam loves chords. Our dear friend Adam loves chords.
I tend to put a
Lots
lot
of
of
chords
into
and
our
songs. And so I gave him a writing prompt. I don't even remember when, like at the beginning of the summer, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
That was just write us a song that only uses one chord. And he didn't. It has more than one chord in it. But it arguably has one. You could make the
chord
argument
has
that
the same lowest note.
But he wrote this tune, and then we got together about it, kind of talked about what we wanted it to be about, and we wrote a lot of the lyrics together, and then rewrote a lot of the lyrics together, and then we brought it to the band.
Yeah, we made a demo of it, just the two of us, with I think me playing just every instrument, and,
Just at home.
And yeah, this was during a period of time that Maggie and I were living together, and every once in a while, like that became a big part of our process the last year and a half or so. Is one of us will have just enough of an idea that we can pitch it to the other, and then it'll be like, oh, hey, is there any coffee left in that carafe? Also, do you have a half an hour to demo this thing out real quick? and then we do it, and that's been sort of the current slate of songs that we just recorded and are about to continue to record have been mostly done kind of that way.
Okay.
And then, we'll get to some point in the demo where we're like, those are the ideas we have. Stop. And just send it to the band and stop.
Once it's on its feet, we'll then like go out of our way to stop throwing ideas at it so that there's space for the other guys to get a hold of it and move something. A lot of the times with making these kernels of ideas and stuff, like speaking for myself, is I'll think of a sort of a musical gimmick that a song can have, or get almost a joke, or just a kind of like a chord quality of something that I'll just kind of get fixated on, and I'll just like sit down at the guitar or the piano and like, all right, if that, then what would happen next, and how would I get there? And then a song will kind of grow on either side of this one idea. Or a passage that I had, or a lyric that came to mind, or something like that. And then once I get to the point where I wouldn't be embarrassed at how sloppy it is to present it to Maggie and see what she thinks, and have figured out what I'm doing to the point where I can play it proficiently, at least enough to present to somebody, then usually I'll not do anything with it for a week. If I can then pick up my guitar, sit at the piano, and still play it, and I still like it, then I show Maggie. And then we generally for the most part, we then write the lyrics together.
Okay.
Things.
Because I'm a musician also. I'm in the Bronco Marching Band.
Oh, very nice. What do you play?
I play alto.
Oh, I got something. Nice.
Oh, I'll just say that part again.
Okay.
So ease of editing. So I'm also in the Bronco marching band. I play
Nice.
alto, and I've definitely in the process of trying to write my own stuff. Like, I just get to a point where I'm like, okay, there's too much here. When do you know when you stop?
Ooh. Well, we're arguably the most busy band as far as any production recording goes. So I you can answer.
Whatever. There's the old adage that brilliance happens when you take something and you strip away everything, but it's bare minimum elements. And while there is something to that, I feel like that's also the coward's way out a little bit of a creative process. That's something that's all you need is 3 chords and the truth. Okay, sing also or whatever. But there is something to that. But I think that for me, it's way easier to overcook lyrics than it is to overcook music.
Okay.
Because, music, while as an abstract form, can access memories and access all of these emotions that aren't quite as intellectually based as what you can hear when somebody is speaking.
There's also, you can hear something for the first time, even if you've heard a song 50 times or something.
Music's easier to stay fresh generally. So I feel like when it's time to call it good, stop adding stuff, is once you feel satisfied that the point is gotten across, and
or a point.
Yeah, or any point whatsoever. And that you've if you've gotten past the point where you've satisfied yourself artistically with something that you're writing, I feel like that's where you start getting into the territory of now you're putting a hat on a hat, and anybody listening to it on the other side is just going to have it really murky, whatever you were trying to get at, whether that's something abstract through the music or direct intellectual with the lyrics, or something that we try and do is have a nice marriage of both and have thematic elements within the music be reflected in the lyrics and vice versa. So like Maggie was saying, our process probably goes a handful of steps past where most people would call things good, which is not a qualitative statement. That's just how it goes. Where we're trying to
I will also say, even one step further than that, I'm an audio engineer and producer, and so even on top of just on a songwriting level, the ambitions of these sort of headier musical aims or lyrical floweriness or whatever it is, and marrying things and being heady and blah 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 blah. We also like doing that on the production side too. So we're pop music. We're definitely some type of fringe pop music, but pop music a lot of the times today is really confined and articulated frequency bands of stuff, and they're not these busy mixes. They're very simplistic, but these simplistic segments are X, Y, and Z. They check these boxes or whatever. And so I think fake baseball in general, at least with me as their producer and Adam, like to we like busy, we like layers, we like bleed, we like big band stuff. But we still try to honor a lot of truths about being pop music without necessarily needing to say we're gonna have the bass only on between this frequency and this frequency, and it's gonna be extremely clean, and you're gonna be able to hear every single thing in complete compartmentalization in your brain that you possibly can, or something.
And there's something to be said for that. There's good reason that pop music has taken that, as our abilities to convey sound into the digital age with recorded music and so on have grown. So to have people's understanding that like, well, if every instrument takes up a huge range of sound, then there aren't that many instruments that you should have going at the same time. And to that we say phooey. Maggie is a strong enough audio engineer, and we collectively, I think, have refined enough ears that we can find those ways to jam everything into the trunk space that is any given recording.
Nice. Yeah, so kind of transitioning from that, tell me about the recording process from this album. On your Instagram, I saw this video of like a clap choir going on.
Yeah. So for these 3 songs and for the single that we're coming out with at the beginning of the next year, and for a chunk of tunes which the clap choir is from, which will be part of an EP that hopefully we're coming out with in the summer next year sometime. We're hoping to do our basic tracking, and we've done the last handful of basic tracking with Ben Zito at Centennial Sound in Grand Rapids.
Nice.
Local music heads will recognize the name Ben Zito as being the bassist for the Crane Wives out of Grand Rapids.
And he's amazing, and we love Ben Zito.
We love Ben Zito. Big
Everybody
shout out to Ben.
really loves Ben Zito.
But yeah, it's fun. The way that things shook out, it had a fair amount of frustration for us. We went in this EP that we're about to drop, we recorded last August.
Okay.
Up at Zito's place, Centennial Sound in Grand Rapids. And going into it, we had one plan for what it was going to be. We were going to cut just 2 songs live and maybe work up a third and see what happens. And then we got in our heads right as we were going in as to exactly what the recordings were going to be for. So we ended up recording those 2 songs, working up what is now the lead single off the record, The Goods, the title track. Essentially finished arranging it in the studio as we were recording it. And then like we spent 8-9 months chipping away at it, the recordings, editing and mixing and so on, here and there. But it went from, this is going to be its own thing tracked live. Then it became this thing that we're doing more traditional, to a click, overdubs and so on, to now this is going to be songs on a full-length record. Let's finish writing this full-length record. Life happened. Nobody saw each other for 5 months. But we still have these recordings, and now they're sort of displaced from any full-length that they could be on. So we kind of came up with this idea that I think that I'm personally really excited about, which is we're now dumping these 3 songs that we're really excited about, and now we've finished them up and we're feeling really good about them. Then we're the session that clap choir video was taken from was actually not from this recording, but from when we went in this last August to record a new single that ought to be out early next year, hopefully still in the winter. That's the plan. And then we started tracking the next EP that will be hopefully dropping sometime midsummer, and the clapping clip of us doing what's called a hemiola stacked rhythm, 3/2 if you're counting, is from one of those songs that will be coming out on the next EP. And hopefully by the time that actually drops, we will have already recorded the next single and hopefully a check of the next EP.
Yeah. So we kind of abandoned album 2, basically. We were like, full-length album is crazy and hard and a lot of work and a lot of time spent together that we are not allotted. Our 2 of our members, Grayson Nye and Ethan Bausma, live in Chicago now. So we just can't physically get together as often as we had. So we sort of scrapped album 2 idea in favor of like short bursts of smaller releases, but we have pretty much a second album's worth of material because of the fact that we need to finish an album mode as soon as we tracked these 3 songs last summer.
Yeah, if our progress remains as it currently is over the course of the next year and a half or 2, we will drop at least another 18 songs. And then we can worry about maybe writing a full length.
Yeah, and this way it allows us to, book some chunks of basic tracking time where all of us, the full band, can get together and start on a new song with Ben Zito at Centennial. And then after basic tracking is done, I inherit the files and I can do additional sessions here at La Luna in town and finish up tracking while we're working on stuff from the past. So whatever. Breaking this up into smaller releases allows us to do stuff more efficiently and quickly. I'm hoping, anyway.
Yeah, and it just gives us more opportunities to actually interface with our community and the people, and
definitely,
I hesitate to use the word fans, but our fans, as opposed to sitting on a bunch of material for a year and a half, 2 years while it gradually comes out. And hopefully you drop it with enough fanfare that it does the same amount of work. Or quarterly, you have a new release and something for people to chew on and pay attention to. And I think that also prompts people to interface with the material itself a little bit better, because, if you open up Spotify right now, open up any given record and look at the number of listens from the beginning to the end, you'll find a huge precipitous drop off around track 6 or 7 because people are listening. People listen
to the back halves of albums less than the front halves of albums.
Yeah, and it's not because people put their worst music on the back half of an album. In fact, most people try and backload most records.
It's just most people don't consume albums anymore.
Right. Yeah. Well, because it's either things that you either grab a song that you like off of a record and drop it onto your laundry or chop and carrots playlist or workout playlist, and take it in that way, or you put on a whole record and you listen to it for exactly the amount of time it takes for you to drive to work.
Exactly.
So that's not to say we'll never make another full-length album. We're totally going to.
Because as a almost separate art form, making full-length albums is a really, really cool thing that I look at as being a different discipline altogether than what we just did with dropping an EP. There's a lot more things to consider, really in both directions, love albums. I love the art of the album, and we love making them. And but it seems less pressing to do so at this point.
Yeah, I'd rather give people more to listen to before they have to wait for us to make another full-length album.
And also, it's more and more as a result of that system that we're in, where people aren't really taking in full albums all that much. The only real artistic, huge boon to making a full length, to my mind at this point, is if it's going to be one more cohesive work. If you're going to write a concept album or an album that's all about one theme, or that tells a larger story over more songs, because if it's just going to be
a collection
if it's
of
just
songs,
going to be 12 disparate songs, then just release all of those as singles and constantly be having more stuff come out.
So tell me a bit more about, you're saying this EP writing process is so much different than an album writing process. For you, there's this story arc that kind of needs to be happening. Can you tell me a bit more about how EP writing is different than album writing?
Well, saying that people don't necessarily listen to a full album doesn't necessarily equate to people not listening to a full EP, depending on how long it is. So it's almost like you have to be a little bit more choosy about which particular tunes, and there's less space for you to be choosy about the order that those appear next to each other. So for this EP, we kind of grappled a little bit because these 3 songs are very disparate, both in style and direction, and also in sort of core meaning. And we, thinking originally that these were on an album, we were finding these through lines and writing new material that sort of made them gel easier together. And then when we abandoned that, there was a new anxiety because we were like, are these songs supposed to go together? Even though like originally that was the whole plan all along.
And then also what happens to the material you were generating to try and tie all of these other things together that you thought were important to record in the first place. So yeah, we have like, for instance, the title track from the record, The Goods, is, though we don't name him directly, is sort of about a character that we use as an analog for ambition and sleaziness, I suppose. When we were originally conceptualizing all of this, that character was somebody who we were writing into other songs.
Okay.
And then when we decided that the song stands on its own enough that it only needs to be accompanied by a couple more tunes to make it a whole thing, once we got to that point, it freed up what we could do with that other material a lot, honestly, to the detriment, because it made it so that a few of them are songs we just haven't revisited again since then, but like are still things that we have partially finished that will almost certainly get done and will be on a future release.
Yeah, almost just like a revamp of it.
Right. But those are things that were written specifically to bolster these.
Right.
Yeah, because essentially these 3 songs were going to be sort of the highlights, I guess, of a broader record, or the ones that were going to be the apex points of it. So like you have more freedom, because when you have fewer songs, less time of music actually happening, if somebody's sitting down listening to something all in one chunk, there's less opportunity for an implied narrative to present itself when it's just a few songs.
Yeah.
So the fact that they are disparate in volume and intensity and subject matter and so on, both like matters a little less, because they can only be so intertwined because it's only 3 of them, and also a little more because something that's very different isn't just like nestled at track 7 on a record.
Everything's different. So
Everything
it's almost like the new vibe of the thing, right? Like here's 3 different directions, like here's a little sample platter for you or something like that.
Which I think for where we are in, where Fake Baseball currently sits in as much of the public sphere as we're in, I think is more beneficial for us right now, as much as it's cool to put out stuff that you sink more into creatively and be really deliberate about. The fact that we are very eclectic and we take you on a little bit of a journey, like this EP is, I think, a little better of a commercial for our live show than our full-length record was, because our ambitions were just lying in different places.
Right. I agree with that a lot.
So, like, this is apparently Maggie hadn't thought of that yet.
No, that was a new thought to me.
So I think we're, people who are real sticklers about, there better be a lot of cohesion in this piece of art that I'm going to take in, might find themselves just picking a favorite song from this EP and sticking with that. But people who dig us, who are into Fake Baseball and get sort of the aesthetic that we're going for and cotton to that, are going to, I think, be really pleased with
the different places that we go. Yeah.
Yeah. I like how you put it as like a little bit of a different platter. It's almost just like a charcuterie board of like kind of pick and choose what you want, and they all kind of go together, but they all are so different.
Yeah. Like I definitely think there are, like what you said, there are listeners who are going to consume this whole EP and really enjoy all of it. And there are listeners who are going to really love one song, and that's the song. And that's a little bit, it's alleviating to put out an EP instead of a full-length album, because you get all wrapped up in the meaning of an entire project when it's one album. And I think knowing upon the onset of a project that breaking things up so that they could be singles, even if they're on a small little thing together, allows more people to engage and enjoy you than not.
Yeah, having a song that it's like everybody loves it when a band does a little bit of a breakout from their typical genre or something. But that being that can still be really, if you're only getting that as a single thing from a group at any given point in time, then it's easy for fans of stuff to get precious about that. And whereas doing the short form release that has disparate sound, it pretty well sets the precedent that like, no, we're not tied into always sounding any one given way.
So you can pick and choose, you know, like choose what you like. You don't have to like it all.
That's such a good way of putting that. I never even really thought about like EP releases being almost like a separate from the core sound of what a band is. Man, that's gonna make me look at album versus EPs differently now, honestly.
Yeah, and what's really funny is sort of the way that all of this stuff has sort of come to pass, where we've circled all the way back around. Technology has gotten back to where music is like it was when technology was really bad. Like originally, like when vinyl's first a thing, you're getting singles, 7 inches. You get a single and a B-side, and that was how all music was released.
Yeah.
And then the EP came out. Suddenly you can fit
here's
3 or 4.
More.
Oh, here's a little more. EP stands for extended play. And
Extended play.
And then it wasn't until the 60s or so that LPs came around, long plays, which were clocking in at between an hour and some odd. And then when CDs came around, suddenly albums are
compact disc.
Suddenly CDs that's 80 minutes worth of sound that you can put on those things. So it became, arguably, I forget the name of the album, but a lot of people say Frank Sinatra put out the first concept record. Which was about his divorce, big surprise there. And it became very quickly the standard. Well, since we can put out 45 to 75 minutes at a time, better do that.
Everybody do that. You have to.
Yeah, because record labels aren't trying to waste a bunch of vinyl that they spent money making.
Exactly.
So it's literally just so that they aren't being wasteful of chemicals was why the standard album length became a thing. And we've now gotten to the point where
we've backtracked.
We've gotten to the point where like your song better be able to be distilled into 30 seconds because it's going on TikTok and that's the only way that anybody's going to hear it.
So true.
And so now it flash forward to last year. I think Sam Smith put out a single that was 90 seconds long or something like that, or under 2 minutes.
Right, and there's some ways that you can use the ways that the industry has been shaped by all of these rules and trends and whatever, like Tierra Whack with Whack World. She creates this whole album where every single tune is a minute.
Exactly
1 minute long. And, you can put, I don't remember how long it is, like 15 songs or whatever. Like it's not it's arguably less long than our whole EP, but it's a full length album and you can listen to the whole thing twice through and get 2 plays instead of one in the exact same amount of time it would take you to listen to a much longer album.
Which with that specific Tierra Whack album is actually, as I understand it, how most people take it in. In fact, there are playlists on all of the streamers where it's every song just twice in a row going down this thing. So from a business end, making songs that are only a minute long
give you more plays.
Now you just doubled the amount of times that people are actually listening to this. So
and that's not
your
just
0.02 cents from Spotify just became 0.04 cents.
However, inside of this project, every single song is this like completely distilled, perfect nugget of the hook or whatever it is, and it is just that, and you can play it over and over again and be satisfied. Because it carved all of this stuff away, and it's really difficult to do. It's like genius and artistic and creative and what, like she's I absolutely love her, but it's also a product of the context around putting out fixed media playback music, right?
Yeah, isn't that so interesting how TikTok and people getting famous on TikTok has really so shaped how music in general just like is produced and how it's consumed and everything along those lines.
Well, those contexts have been where what guides music since people have been performing it. Just thinking about old church organ music, when churches got smaller, suddenly the harmonies got a lot spicier because there's less reverb in the room to make it so that things clash when you change chords. Or like dance music, like disco and stuff, they were playing in loud cement clubs, and having too much rhythmic complexity would make just a wash of sound, but something still being rhythmic and pulsing was necessary because there wasn't enough reverberation in the room to make something pastoral or something like that. So then you've got like CBGBs, and there's like where Blondie comes from. So the context in which music is consumed and the way that it's actually performed and listened to has been driving the way that it's written for hundreds of years. For as long as we've been performing music.
Yeah, exactly.
Once suddenly it became fashionable to put bass cannons in your trunk, suddenly 50 Cent's on the scene making strip club music that's just blowing out that sub.
Yeah.
Making decisions that wouldn't have been made if not for the consumer end decision to take up all of your trunk space with a huge cone.
Yeah. Okay, so transitioning a bit, tell me about your EP shows that are coming up.
Well, we're really excited to we just have 3, gonna make them real meaningful, joyous, jubilant celebrations of a long road. Like as we were telling you before, for 3 songs over 4 tracks, we sure did take a year and a half to make it. So
you better celebrate with us.
So we're really, really excited to blow off a little steam about it and call it Born. Yeah, this is the birthday. This is our album's birthday party.
Yeah, and we're going first to Chicago, a venue called the California Clipper, and we are playing with Sophia Lucia, and all 3 of these shows are right before Halloween, and they're costume parties.
Wonderful.
Which is amazing and wonderful. I tried so hard to get the band to do a gore-danged group costume, and man, did we have a lot of bad ideas.
Man, were all of your ideas. How about you guys dress in drag? And
that
I'll
wasn't
look like
all
Madonna.
of my ideas, but I did think that if all of us were Madonna, then that would be fun. But we're not. We're just...
Says the only woman in the...
and that's why I said it was fair. So we're all just going stag, but we're definitely dressing up.
The second show is here in Kalamazoo, and it is at the other side of Ups, which many old townies will remember used to be called Boomerangs at Up and Under. And it is with Celeste Allison and Santino Jones, a couple of local stunners that we're really pumped to get a chance to work with, but we've never shared a bill with yet, so we're excited about that.
Well, Celeste played at our benefit show last summer, but other than that, we have not.
And then thank you.
I'm looking
on the 28th, we're going to Toledo, Ohio to play a Halloween bash at the Ottawa Tavern. We'll be one of, I want to say, 6 bands for that. It's sort of a mini festival.
We are playing with Hemingway Lane, the Dartmoors, Brown Maple, and the Currents.
Ooh. And obviously, everybody listening to this Kalamazoo College's radio station knows all those bands, and can tell
shout out,
can get
maybe
get people pumped to come out. And then we've got a handful of other engagements over the course of the rest of the year. We are playing Basic Comfort's album release show on
December 1st.
That's the 1st, yes.
I'm pretty sure that is also going to be at the other side of Ups. And then after that, we've got one more Chicago show in the middle of December. I believe that's the 13th. And then we're coming back to Kalamazoo to celebrate the end of the year. We are playing New Year's Eve at Bell's with Desmond Jones and Mighty Big Rig.
I definitely plan on going to that
That's
show.
gonna
I
be a
saw
big time.
that bill came out, and I was like, okay, all my plans, nothing. I have to go to that one because
Nice.
I've
We'll see you
seen
there.
Desmond Jones and Mighty Big Rig, and they're a killer. And yeah, that's gonna be one heck of a show.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I love New Year's shows in general. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
party time and fun times, you know. And bells. Bells just feels
And bells.
it's a really good sounding room. And
One last question for y'all. I hear that you guys have a benefit project that's happening in December.
yes, so Fake Baseball has made it our aim to do one benefit project every year. And the first year we did a compilation of covers of all Kalamazoo artists, and the benefit went toward Kalamazoo's chapter of Food Not Bombs. And then last year we held a Day Fest event behind the VNA in town as a benefit for Planned Parenthood. And we're kind of taking this model of doing a production, doing a recording that we can sell, and alternating the next year doing some type of live event, because it is hard to do a live event planning every single year. So that's kind of what we're doing, and we're on the recording year this year, and we are coming out with a compilation of cartoon theme covers by different Michigan artists. And the benefit will go to the Kalamazoo River Watershed Council this year.
Because I don't know if anybody remembers, a handful of years ago, a bunch of nasty rich snakes dumped a bunch of oil into that river. And that is an issue that is still being dealt with now, 13 years later, something like that.
And it's not even an isolated issue. Yes, the Kalamazoo River Watershed Council could use money to clean up the Kalamazoo River, but in general, we kind of are in this pipelines are fine age of political fights. So especially since we did two sort of social issues the first couple of years, we thought it was time to pick something that's very close to all of our ideologies and hearts and try to pick something environmental.
Yeah, there are some. We've already gotten most of the tunes, the recordings handed in from the different bands, and boy, they're just every single one of them so much fun. I don't know if anybody out there in the ones and zeros remembers a Kalamazoo All-Star used to go by, still goes by Bird Fingers, but man, his version of the Pinky and the Brain.
It was so good.
Oh man, it's gonna knock your socks off. So yeah, keep an eye out in December. It's gonna be a strictly digital release, and 100% of the proceeds are going to go to the Kalamazoo River Watershed Council.
Correct.
So you can stay up to date on everything Fake Baseball by following them on Instagram at Fake Baseball. They have their shows on October 26th in Chicago at 8 p.m., October 27th, The Other Side of Ups in Kalamazoo at 7 p.m., October 28th, the Ottawa Tavern in Toledo at 7 p.m., and the New Year's Eve show at Bell's. Fake Baseball's EP, The Goods, is coming out on October 23rd. You can also find this show on Instagram, live, loud, and local. I'm always reposting venue posters, my favorite artists, and giving updates about this show. The best way to get on this show is by Instagram DM. Until next time, Kalamazoo, remember to bring your earplugs, and as always, tip the touring band.
Flirting with disaster, flirted with way worse, for why is unknown. I'm Curdy, used to cast and crew, but union rules say breaks it.
Not sure if you got the goods, baby. Not sure if you got the goods, baby. Not sure if you got the goods, baby. Not sure if you got the goods, baby.
Babe, you're perfect. You will earn a weekend spent with tricks plunged up your sleeve. It's worth it. You will learn the sea serpent to you. It's alive, coiled and hiding. Damn your reels, damn your time, damn it all. Do you feel this? Do you feel it? I don't. Can be imagination, it can be the medication. It's
Only real if you make me feel.
time of dedication. It's where we get all my
Not sure if you got the goods, baby. Not sure if you got the goods, baby. Not sure if you got the goods, baby. Not sure if you got the goods, baby.
I've got luggage. I'll be taking railways in my trailer. What a trip! Now poised to make the ugly choices. Mine's to find the money. I sell my high, sell the wheels, the countryside, sell it all too. Do you feel this? Do you feel it? I don't.
The climax and plane crash and IMAX and that's that.
The imagination, it can be the